This week we have got Mr. Rossifer Bellbag.
Hello.
Miss L.
Oh, hi.
And Auntie L.
They keep inviting me back. I don't know why.
Because Lewis couldn't make it. Welcome, one and all. How are we all doing? Are we feeling good?
I'm good.
No.
Yes.
Yes, then.
Oh,
I like to conform.
Sheep. So, have we all been playing games this week, or the last 2 weeks?
Yes.
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 Are they new games on the bleeding edge of the gaming industry?
None of them.
One
Actually,
is.
one of them.
One of mine is.
Yeah.
Look,
What?
I was on the bleeding
None of
edge
mine
of
are.
weird last week. You can't ask me.
Well, way over the bleeding edge.
You were way over the top. That was an
left
abyss from which none of us shall ever return. Last week.
The bleeding edge was in your dust.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again. Actually,
Right,
I'm
look.
looking forward to this week because I want to know where you go from there.
Well, no, there is nowhere to go from there, Lee. This is the problem, and I'm concerned
Yeah.
that we've got to either now do one of these because so every now and again a pop star. No, every now and again a pop star just hits the pits.
Yeah.
They go all the way down. So you got your Miley Cyrus's and you've got your Britney Spears, and they hit
You're
the
talking
absolute rock
reinvention,
bottom.
aren't you?
Right. So there's two ways this can go.
Is this going to
Either
go cone bra?
right, this is either cone bra territory now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, shaved head, full bore on Sinead O'Connor style, or we're into snorting stuff in toilets because there's not from last week. There's not very many places she can go, but I'm interested to find out. Ross, have you played brand new stuff this week?
Yeah, I think it's brand new. It's terrible, but it is brand new, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh no. There's two. Oh, you've spoken to me about both these. I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to it. Right, okay. We need to start with somebody. So I want to start with somebody who has got a treacherous game on their list this week.
A treacherous
This could be
game.
me.
And you have to start with the treacherous game because I want to know what the fuck is going on. And I'm pointing my finger at the microphone right now, like you should know. Right? So, Lee, what have you been playing?
This week, I've spent a small amount of time playing Final Fantasy 15.
What the actual fuck? Right? Now, bear in mind, to everybody, not that we live in each other's laps or anything, but we talk every single day. And for ages, I've been saying, do you know what? I really fancy Final Fantasy 15. This is a new one, isn't it? Final Fantasy 15, the one with the car and the buddy buddies, and they've just
car?
put the PC. Yeah, there's a car that you can drive around in, and the PC version, when it was released, brought in multiplayer, so you can actually play Final Fantasy multiplayer. And I kept saying to Lee, we should probably look at getting this, but I'm not really sure how the co-op multiplayer works.
And I kept saying that I don't like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then
So
we
I
can
didn't
play
buy
with some
it.
other boys. versions.
Long-time Final Fantasy fan,
Yeah.
didn't buy it,
Yeah.
right?
He's just,
So what-
just literally just before we started the podcast, saw on the list of my games that I played
Right.
this week, Final Fantasy 15, and there was a little hissy fit going on there.
It was a
Toys
small history.
were
Go on,
ejected
fully explain your
from the
cuntiness. Go on.
Okay, it's not what it seems. It's actually Final Fantasy 15 on the Android.
Oh, that's cheating.
It's not.
All right, I feel a bit better now.
It's apparently it's the full game. Well,
What?
you get the first episode of the full game for free. To play.
I didn't know it was episodic.
Well, it is on Android. So you get the first episode to play. It's the full game, except the graphics are a little bit more basic. They're more chibi sort of heads.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
A bit more cartoony. And
Do you know I didn't know this was a thing?
I'm sure that the thing is, I haven't got much to compare this to because I've literally played a Final Fantasy game before, like 10 years ago,
When it was cartoon graphics.
and it seemed a very different game to this, but I didn't like it.
It's not even mentioned on the Wikipedia page.
Good. Yes.
See, I don't believe that this is anything like the actual game is on PC.
It's the actual game.
What?
Oh, Final Fantasy
See, I'm gonna have to
15
try this.
Pocket Edition. Is that
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, see, I've been really trying to stay away from this because there's a pocket edition of Lineage 2, and I'm a little bit concerned that would be the end of my life if I started playing that.
Right, so
Because Lineage 2 is amazing.
my first 20 minutes of playing this consisted of me sitting there watching it.
it? Well, that's Final Fantasy, yeah.
Yeah, that is Final Fantasy. God, 20 minutes, you're in luck. I spent the better part of my teens watching Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, I literally did nothing for 20 minutes, and then and I was desperately trying to avoid skipping the cutscenes because I'm quite bad at doing that sort of thing and missing a lot of story. And I know that it's all about the story in this one, so I thought I'd better.
It has to be. If you missed a story in Final Fantasy, you literally are just whacking shit for no reason.
Exactly. So I left it, and I took...
In some of them, actually, though, even if you do pick up the story, you don't fully understand it, and you're still whacking shit for no reason. It took me about 4 playthroughs of Final Fantasy 7 to work out who the fucking hell Zack actually was. I had no idea.
So I can appreciate there is a story in this. It didn't grip me. I'm not sure if that's because I was playing, little chunks at a time. Oh, the other really annoying thing with the Pocket Edition is that while you're watching these cutscenes, if you don't touch the screen regularly,
your phone turns off.
Oh, that fucking irritates the tits off me. I have a thing every now and again when I'm watching Amazon TV. It doesn't happen on Netflix, but when I'm watching Amazon Prime, every now and again, my fucking phone goes to sleep, and I can't stop it from doing it. It'll kill the app, doesn't matter. So I've spent an entire episode of Man in the High Castle earlier, tapping my screen every 30 seconds so I could watch the entire fucking
mood
thing.
Killer, isn't it?
It is a little bit, yeah.
I mean, do you not go into your settings and change your settings so that it doesn't go to sleep that quickly?
What did she say?
We've previously discussed, Elle, that...
He doesn't read instructions.
My settings are set that way. Thank you very much. It doesn't happen in anything else. It just goes weird every now and again. Anyway, Final Fantasy 15 verdict is not great, but I wasn't expecting you to actually like it. In fact, I wouldn't expect you to like it on the PC either. I'm not entirely sure.
I can see that I reckon this is going to be something that people will like. It's just that I don't. This is a personal thing. It's just not my kind of game. I don't like quick time event games, and I don't like games where I don't feel like I'm actually attached to any of the action. In this, you just basically tap on an enemy, and your character does its thing, goes over and whacks it. You wait for an icon to pop up on the screen to do a parry. You tap that in time, and you just have to react like that all the time.
That's kind of Final Fantasy. So this is their modern reaction to turn-based combat, because it was always turn-based combat previously, and they tried to shift away from it. Yeah, they tried to shift away from it, and people really reeled about it and said, look, turn-based combat is Final Fantasy, and they've desperately tried to come up with a way that they can have more action-based combat while keeping the kind of turn-based. So I think it plays similar to the way the MMO does, Final Fantasy 14, which wasn't terrible, but it's much slower combat than a lot of other MMOs.
Anyway, it's scored pretty well. The full release, like 80s, mid 80s on consoles and PC.
Yeah, it's done very. I am going to have to get it. It's horrendously expensive at the moment.
We'll try the Pocket Edition because it's free.
It does that. I might give it a go. It does that really irritating thing though that it pisses me off. So you go to Steam and you see like all the badges that the games have got on the right hand side, and it says like single player, multiplayer, co-op, and this that, and the other. Now I know they've added a co-op mode to the game. It wasn't there at release. It's new. They've patched it in since. And in the PC release, it had co-op in it from release. But there is no explanation anywhere of how that co-op works. It doesn't say it's full campaign co-op. It doesn't say it is situational match-based co-op. It doesn't say you have to be level 20 before you unlock it. There's no information at all. I've been burnt too many times.
Co-op versions.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just stayed away from it. If I found out that it was full campaign co-op, then I'd just go for it straight away. But I seriously doubt it will be. Right. Okay. Fine, that's your treacherous Final Fantasy playing, and I don't feel quite so bad about it anymore, so you can play Rocket League with me again now. Alright, look, we need to move to somebody else. I'm really reluctant to do this, but I'm going to have to do it sooner or later, so I want to get the first one out of the way now. Elle?
Yes.
What Prozac-inducing game have you been playing this week?
Well, we have a wide variety of choices, but seeing as Lee has just done a mobile game, I am also going to choose a mobile game.
Oh, a segue.
I know. Reigns Her Majesty is a strategy card-esque game whose swiping mechanics probably are Tinder-ish, but I can't tell because I don't have any experience. But it's what I imagine one would do if one was on Tinder. apart from, instead of trying to find a mate, which I imagine Tinder is for, you are trying to run a country, which is infinitely more interesting.
France,
this reminds me of that.
Germany, left.
Hang on, there was another game like this, wasn't there?
Yes, it was called Reigns, and that was about being the king. This is about being the queen.
No.
Infinitely
There was
more interesting position, if you ask me.
There was one I played. There was one I played on PC, possibly from your recommendation, about a princess. You were a princess and you had to run the country.
Crumbs.
Oh, I remember.
And
that.
it wasn't called Crumbs.
No,
and
no,
you were. And somebody was trying to assassinate you, and you had to try and stay
Yes.
alive.
Yeah. This is basically like that, but in a more addictive form.
Okay.
Because you can actually see the consequences of your actions much more clearly. You've got like 4 little symbols at the top of your screen. A cross, a person, a sword, and a $sign. And they each represent like different things. So you've got like the church, your people, military strength, and how much money is like in your coffers, I guess. And each of your decision will impact them, and you need to keep it not too full and not too empty. If you hit too much, you'll die for a certain reason, and if you like deplete it, you'll also die. It's so good. It's so good. I really enjoy the cyclical nature of the game. If you die, it's not too much of a bad thing.
I'm sorry, go back for a moment. Say that word again.
If you die, it's not too much of a bad thing. In this game...
No, the nature. The cyclical nature.
Yeah.
Was that?
Cyclical.
That's a fucking amazing word. That is the word of the week. Okay, Ross, the name of this podcast is Cyclical.
Okay.
Cyclical? Okay, that's fine. Carry on, sorry.
Well, it is cyclical because you go through these different lives, and it's almost like you're possessing these different women, which is kind of a creepy way to describe it.
But right in your wheelhouse, Elle. that is firmly in your alley, wheelhouse, everything.
But your aim is to try and make contact with this bizarre goddess who fucks with your phone at points during the game.
Fucks with your phone.
And there's a talking cat. Why not play this game?
I really want to find this Reddit. I know we say it every week, but this subreddit / fucked up games or whatever the fuck it is she lives on.
L's choices.
This must be the forum she was talking about.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
forum
I've
that she's
made
been
one
arguing
now
with
based
people
on
on.
my Steam
So this is
review.
actually available. You were playing this on Android, were you?
Yeah.
And this is available on Steam as well. £2.09 on Steam.
Oh, I got it for less than that on my mobile. I think it was £1.80.
Did you pay real money or survey money?
I paid real money because I was looking for a game because I was bored on the train.
Don't think I paid real money on Android for
Oh yeah, we all get it. You do these surveys and you get money.
I
Fucking
don't
move
like
on.
surveys. I don't like giving
He's
people
been banging on
information.
about this.
Tell them things that make it interesting for you.
He just lies. It's
Oh my
fucking
God.
fraudulent, is what it is. He might as well bizzle them. I swear to God. He just gets all these Google surveys. He fucking lies, barefaced lies to Google, and then takes their hard-earned money and buys their games with
They
it.
thank me for it.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
it's like a
this is
really
great
fucked up
game to
upside-down pyramid
purchase
scheme.
with your ill-gotten gains, the survey money,
Wait for a
Mr.
few more
Bruce
surveys.
Wayne.
If it's like that princess game that I played on Steam, I'm kind of into this.
Yeah, it is.
And I've been-
It is kind of, but it's a lot more accessible. The choices
Don't laugh,
are...
Ross. It wasn't that one.
What?
It's a different princess game.
No! God damn it!
I like this. I like the look of it. It is very. Oh God, what was the name of that game, El?
Let
What
me
was the
find
fucking
out.
name
I'll
of
open
it?
up my Steam library.
You do
Oh
it.
God, so many games.
Oh god.
I'm pretty sure I played it Steam share off your library as well.
Ooh, Long Live the Queen.
That's
that was
it.
fun.
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah, I
I've
really
played
enjoyed that. So if
more
it's like
hours
that-
on this than I did on Long Live the Queen.
Oh, that's pretty good. I played Long Live the Queen quite a few times, but that's only because she kept fucking dying, and I couldn't work out how to make her not die.
know.
Then I got angry about it, talked about it on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I never played it again. I may have uninstalled it in anger. That's the
yes.
thing that happens.
This is better.
Right, reigns Her Majesty. This is on Android. I'm going to go get this now while we're talking, because that's an appropriate thing to do while we're on it. It's not called fucking Long Live the Queen.
Are you using real money or are you using survey money, Rich?
I'm going to use Lee's survey money.
Not mine.
Oh, fuck me. It's £2.79 on Android.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Fucking
I
buying
don't know
that.
when I bought that then. If I
Have a beer for that.
I have it written down in my notebook, in my journal. £1.80. Okay.
Right.
Pastel.
Okay. No, that's a good one. It's a good one. And I don't play mobile games, to be honest. I've got basically no mobile games on my phone at all. I pretty much watch Netflix when I'm having a poo. And I've been interested in finding a decent mobile game for a while, so I am going to have to give something a go. I'm not sure it's going to be that for that money, but I'm probably going to give Final Fantasy 15 a go. Final Fantasy 15? Is it that, Lee?
No.
Oh.
I'm totally addicted to Wordscape.
Oh,
Pardon?
really?
Yeah, Wordscape.
What's that?
It's like a crosswordy anagram type thing, and I just cannot stop playing it.
Words? You haven't told me about this. Is this multiplayer?
No.
Wordscape. Oh shit! It's not called Reigns Her Majesty Wordscape.
That's a different game.
No, that
Crossover.
is a niche game.
That's a really long fucking Wordscape. That's free. I'm installing that. Thanks, Lee.
Got some really annoying adverts, but you can
I'm
use
installing that.
use your survey money to get rid of the adverts.
I'm installing fucking. I haven't got any survey money. I don't do fucking surveys.
Surveys, lie.
No, I've got better things to do with my time.
We do not
Can't
condone this
name-
behaviour, people.
All of them right now.
Ignore them.
Right, look, we need to talk about something else. I'm going to talk about one of my things, if that's all right, Ross, because you've
Yeah.
only got 2 things on your list.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to talk about one of my things, and I'm going to get a slight little... it's not a rant. I'm going to call it a rant.
Every week.
because normally I have a rant of the week.
Rich's rant.
So, Oculus, as we all know, are pretty fucking stupid. And there's a couple of reasons that they're pretty fucking stupid. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are... you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons can't afford a Vive, therefore you. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons that they're pretty much. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons that they're pretty much. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on. And I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for however, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did discuss this a little bit earlier on, and I am still of the opinion that if your options are you can't afford a Vive, therefore you have no VR. And there's a couple of reasons for another example. However, we did
discussed this a little bit earlier. Oculus, I insulated your Amazon choices when you ask for the right if I ask you however, we discussed this a little bit earlier. Oculus, I insulated your Amazon choices when you ask for the right
it all sorted out, and they put it out there. Now, if it was me, I probably... Now, can you imagine that if every Xbox player in the entire world couldn't use their Xbox One for 4 days?
Wow.
Can you imagine the fucking blowback that would cause?
There would be a massive outrage and many people destroying their Xboxes.
Sony would be doing quite well.
So weirdly, all the people that own Oculus Rifts are they've got really low expectations, because I was reading through the Oculus Reddit, and there's obviously a bunch of people that are getting really irate because they want to be able to play it, and rightly so. That's absolutely fine. But there was an increasing amount of people that are going, "Great, I can't wait for the voucher that they give us at the end of this." they genuinely didn't give a shit. They were like, "Well, I'm not fucking using my Rift anyway." And yeah, as long as they give us a voucher at the end of it, man, I'm fucking golden. And they did. And they gave everybody an Oculus. I mean, the disappointing part of this was that it was an Oculus Store voucher.
Oh.
So it's not like useful. You couldn't use it on Steam or anything like that.
On Amazon.
But they gave everybody Oculus credit. Or I presume everybody. It wasn't 100% clear in the announcement, but I presume it was everybody and not just people who attempted to use their Rift in the outage period.
I was going to say, maybe it's just those people, yeah.
But yeah, it did genuinely, it affected everybody. It wasn't just people who tried to use it, it was everybody in the whole world. The workaround, I'm pretty sure actually, was to turn the clock back on your computer.
Yeah, which fucked up everything else.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which fucked up tons of other stuff, because like Steam and all kinds of other applications really don't like it when you do that.
Yeah. I find out that bad way.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was funny. That was the thing that happened.
I have a VR question.
Oh.
Okay, go.
Don't get too excited. I don't want this to become a 40-minute
you've got to be careful.
Question either.
He gets a lob on when the wind changes, mate. You mentioned VR and he has to unzip.
Look, all the blood's rushing away from my head.
Oh my god.
Has VR plateaued? It's because it kind of everything seems to happen
Absolutely.
at once.
Absolutely, and I'm going to answer this because Lee is not qualified to answer this question.
I'll correct him. Carry on.
No, absolutely not. 100% not.
Right.
So you have got games like Fallout 4 VR, Skyrim VR, which is another thing we're going to talk about in a bit, Doom VFR, Payday 2, which has just launched its official VR total conversion. There are major titles that are coming out now. So there was immediately a big influx of indie titles that were coming out on VR. And that's kind of because a lot of them had started development a long time ago on the DK2 and on the early release versions of the Vive development kit. And so they were all kind of stored up and ready to go before the headsets even came out. And then the headsets came out, there was a great big glut of games that got released. And then it kind of felt like it had gone a little bit cold for a while, but there were a lot of games still being released. Big ones like Gorn that people might not have heard of, but they were, big in the scene.
Right.
Yeah, we've had
and now suddenly you've got these great big AAA titles that are turning up that are just ridiculously different to the game that on, as we call it, Pancake, but also, I mean, you imagine Skyrim, the depth and immersion that you've got in a game like Skyrim when you're just playing it on your TV. You imagine sticking a VR headset on with a decent set of headphones and actually swinging that sword and holding that shield and having your 75 hours worth of gameplay right in front of you all the time.
This is like one of the only things that could get me excited about VR is either being in a spaceship cockpit or being some sort of grandmaster wizard or swords person or archer in a fantasy land.
Oh, God.
So this is the thing.
VR is just
archery in VR is amazing.
So how much does it cost? How much is the Vive, Lee, if I wanted to get a Vive?
Oh, that's a really good question. They dropped.
And what else would I need to get that? Obviously, I've got a standard PC.
I think it's 650 the Vive at the minute. Is that right?
I think it's actually a little bit less. I think it might be 599.
Is it?
I mean, that's basically 600.
It's 600 quid. And so it was originally 750. So there's a couple of so just to kind of now, do they sell the Oculus without the without the cameras, the extra cameras and the touch now, or is it always a part of a pack?
You can, but it's just not worth it. It's
okay.
The markup is.
So what's the price on that?
I think it's. Hang on.
400. So this is the thing. When the Vive first came out, and when the Rift first came out, the Rift didn't have what they call the touch controllers. So it was a headset, and then you had to use an Xbox controller to play with it, and it was quite cheap. I think it was about £350, something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas when the Vive came out, it was £750, but it
Rift,
came
when
with.
It came out was £500 just then.
Oh, was it really? Yeah. Okay, fine. Then when the Vive came out, it was $750, but that came with your touch controllers.
$650.
Oh Jesus, this is like
what, the Vive?
Some sort of
I bought my
bartering
Vive
house.
on release for $650.
Okay, well, it wasn't, because when I bought mine, it was $750. So stick it all the way up your ass.
I bought mine on release.
I fear this would happen now. Sorry.
Anyway,
oh god,
they're both
right, look,
a sum of money that you
right.
would
Anyway,
get to
it's loads of
have
money.
to buy
Anyway,
them.
the Vive came out, it was loads of fucking money, or it went up, whatever the fuck it was loads of money. Rift recently knocked their price right down, and Vive kind of did a similar thing. They knocked their prices right down as well. There's a couple of things to watch out for. The Vive, the base station, so both of them need to have sensors to sense the headset, yeah?
Right.
So the way the Vive does that is that it uses, remember the Wii had that like light bar,
sensor
bar that just kind of spread lasers out around the place, yeah? And it was the Wii remote that sensed that, rather than the other way around.
Right.
Even though it was called the sensor bar, it didn't actually sense anything, it just spread these light things. That's how the Vive works. The Vive base stations just do that, so they only need to be powered. They don't need to be connected back to the PC or anything like that. You just need to plug them into power. It makes it much easier to set it up. Like for me, it's in a different room to my PC. Okay. So that makes it way easier. With the Rift, they're cameras. They're actually basically little webcams.
Yeah.
And instead of 2 of them, you need 3 of them.
Right.
And so you need to trail USB leads from wherever the fuck they are all the way back to your PC in order for them to work. So it's quite a different way of doing things. I mean, arguably they both work equally as well once you've got it all set up, but that would be really awkward for me to try and get that done.
Okay, so what...
There is another option.
I didn't want to get this deep, but hang on, I've got more questions. PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
What's the experience like on that? Is that comparable to the other two, or is it worse?
A lot worse, but it's still good. There are a lot more high-quality games on the PlayStation VR.
Yes.
There are some really good titles, actually. In fact, Skyrim VR is it's only on PlayStation VR currently.
Because currently I can get a PlayStation VR with a Gran Turismo Sport bundle for £205.
Yeah, it's really, really cost effective. Does that come with the touch controllers as well?
6-axis motion setting system, no.
So you got to watch out for that. So a lot of games don't need you to have those touch or whatever the fuck they call it, the motion controllers. Mm-hmm. PlayStation Move controllers, is that what they call them? Yeah, a lot of the games don't need the PlayStation Move controller, so you can play the racing games and other stuff with just the headset on.
Right.
But some of the games, the shooting games and some of the other ones, need you to have these Move controllers, so you need to buy those separately.
Most of the games need the Move controllers now.
Right, okay.
Now the difference in the headsets is the quality of the headset. The picture in the PSVR is not as good as the other ones. Also, the head tracking it's not bad. It's not quite as good as either of the Oculus or Vive. The hand tracking is pretty shonky, but it still works. So it's still worth playing something like Skyrim VR. I'd say if you're even vaguely interested, go find someone who's got one and go and try it.
Yeah, I might just speak.
Don't even ask. Take the headset. Go wild.
Yeah.
I shall talk to you more about this later, Ross.
Okay.
Yes.
At you later.
You've opened a can of worms here, Ross.
I was counting down the minutes. If we'd have gone for another 5, I'd have started screaming.
Sorry, Elle. Okay, look. Right, anyway, long story short, there's a lot of VR out there, but Oculus are the stupidest. So,
fair enough.
That's me. I need to talk about something, or we need to talk about something that Ross has done this week. Now, Ross has done 2 equally amazing things this week, and I'm happy with either of them, so pick one. Go ahead.
Well, one's good and one's bad. Let's do the bad one first. Trials of the Blood Dragon.
Woo! Blood Dragon!
Blood Dragon, woo! Yeah, you take a really good game in Trials and fucking ruin it.
Okay, so that's what they did with Far Cry 3 with Blood Dragon. So
exactly.
I'm glad to see that they're continuing the trend.
Well, yeah, it's Trials. Everyone knows Trials. Motorbike trials, basically. Over obstacles, racing to certain checkpoints.
But it's wacky, daft, and over the top, which seems to fit itself perfectly with the kind of Blood Dragon ethos, right?
Yeah. What they do is they take the bikes away from you at certain points and put you on foot doing platforming levels with really bad platform physics. So you're jumping, you're like floating around the place. You've got a gun, which is just controlled by your right analog stick, which is so hard to control. It is so shit.
You mentioned this the other day that you played this, and I saw it. It's available free for, was it Games
for Gold? Yeah, it's a free game this month.
So I downloaded it, or I started downloading it. It said, okay, you can play now. So I played the first 3 levels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fucking hell.
Exactly.
It's so bad. I actually quite like, it's the Trials bit. I quite like that.
Yeah, the Trials games are
first 2
beautiful
levels.
games.
Yeah, so no, the Trials part of this.
Yeah.
The first 2 levels are on the motorbike, and
Yes.
I quite like them, and it's made me want to go and play Trials.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
the
do
platform
that.
Bit, fuck off.
Yes.
So I don't know really how they've done this, and I don't know whether they have meetings specifically to work out how best they can fuck a completely excellent game. But they did exactly. The idea of Blood Dragon. So the idea of this retro 80s, over the top, neon kind of. Yeah, all of this stuff
It's brilliant.
seems fantastic.
Yeah.
And like, how can you fail? How can you fuck that up? But Far Cry 3, genuinely one of my favourite games of all time. I could not have been more excited about Blood Dragon. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. And they had Michael Biehn voicing it as well, and the video, the trailer pre-release looked really good. And I got in and I played it, and this thing outstayed its welcome after about 45 seconds.
Yeah, I think you streamed one episode and got pissed off in the first episode.
So fucking irritating. It was poorly designed. It was just everything about it was bad. They had managed somehow to ruin Far Cry 3, which I genuinely thought was impossible. And then I thought, this is how bad it is, and I don't really know why or how, but Ubisoft have decided that they're going to fucking poke fun at me. I have 2 copies of Blood Dragon in my Uplay account. When I open Uplay, right, I've got all my games listed. I have Blood Dragon twice. I have no idea how that's happened, but I have it twice. I don't. Yeah, they're just like giving me multiple copies.
You get Blood Dragon.
Yeah, fucking Oprah. You get this bag of shit, and you get this bag of shit. Yeah, that's what that. Oh,
so yeah, they've reskinned Trials and added other stuff to it, which was completely unnecessary and ruined a perfectly, really great physics motorbike game.
Is it officially Trials license?
Yes, yeah, it's made by Red Links. It's the people that developed. They worked together on this, and how Red Links let them do this? Maybe because Ubisoft are a bigger company. I don't know, but it's a disaster.
But the stupid thing is like the Far Cry 3 one. It's not a DLC, is it?
No.
It's its own standalone game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think that they say, right, we've got this amazing franchise here, the Trials franchise. We've got this fantastic idea. You can use the 90s movie stereotypes.
Yeah.
And this great story we've got to go with it. Also, to mix it all together, here's a big bucket of shit.
Yeah, just stir that in.
Just smear that around everywhere.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Just fucking flobbing that a couple of times, and we'll see what we get out of it.
So disappointed. The first 2 Trials games I've played to death. But yeah, I'm not
Ross,
going
you
back
should
to
have
this.
known, man.
I know.
You should have known. It was Blood Dragon.
I thought, how can you
had it
mess up?
fucking in the title.
Yeah.
Third time's the charm. Let's wait for the next one.
If
Oh god, what are they going to fuck up next?
If they hadn't done
That's something we should do. We should get...
World of Warcraft Blood Dragon. Let's see.
No.
Just wait till top 3 in a minute.
Final Fantasy Blood Dragon.
Oh yeah. Are we doing? Is that what we're doing? Oh, I'm kidding. No. We're not talking about it. We're not talking about it. Okay, right. Look, we need to go to somebody else to talk about something
Or is
else.
it Cars Blood Dragon? Sorry.
Okay.
Talk about Firewatch, Rich.
Yeah.
No, it's not me. It's not my turn. I've already spoken. I bitched about Oculus for ages, and then that caused Lee to talk about VR in general for a really long time that we're going to cut out the entire podcast. Do you know what? I'm going to skip Lee for a minute, and I'm going to go back to Elle, if that's okay.
Yes?
Yes?
Surprised.
With a question mark at the end.
Well, but it's just because you felt a little bit alone in the
knew
woods
the
with the whole
order,
VR
Rich.
segment. I know. And it was like, and there was a thing where everybody was talking about VR, and I felt like there was a bit of a coming together between Lee and Ross, which was magical to behold. And then, and you were a little bit kind of alienated through the entire thing, so I felt like we needed to come to you next. Is that all right?
That's fine.
All right, brilliant.
I'm going to talk about a game that I really enjoyed playing last year. It's called Stories Untold, and it's very much up my street. It's a game where you go through episodic adventures. They're very, very creepy, and they both have they all have different themes. So the first chapter is a text-based game in which you experience a drunk driving accident. The second experience is a lab experiment, which is fucking ridiculously creepy. The third one is where you are in an Arctic monitoring station. Also, incredibly creepy. And the fourth chapter I won't ruin because it's so brilliantly brought together. I can't ruin it for anyone.
The screenshots give nothing away at all.
The screenshots and the videos and everything give absolutely nothing away. No. But from what you've just described, I already want to play this. So the entire first chapter is text-based. So it's walk north, walk south, it's that kind of stuff. So you're this nameless, faceless protagonist sat at a computer, and it's this really old computer.
It's a Spectrum.
Yeah.
So wait, this is a game in a game, right? Yeah. So it 3D renders you sat in front of this computer, but you're playing a text-based game on it.
Yes. And then...
Oh my god.
It's like the game reflects what's happening in real life. Like the game goes through a couple of like power outages where the house goes completely dark. And then when the power comes back on, stuff changes. So there are really small details like the textures on the walls or... something on a photograph might get scratched out. Right. And the game will gradually get creepier as you relive this experience, which I think is incredible. I really love the small details in psychological horror that you can play through and experience. It's brilliant. I absolutely love the way that it's done. I don't know if you want me to talk about the Arctic station where you're being spoken to and you're being asked to decode messages and you're not supposed to like understand them. So you're like, oh my gosh, like what are the words that are coming through? These messages that you're reading are mildly horrific, and you're like, what the actual Jeff is going on? And you think you're in the middle. What the Jeff is going on?
Do you know what? This immediately, so I'm just looking at it right now, and even the title, so straight away when I looked at it, it was like kind of 80s/90s.
It is very 80s.
Yeah. It's got a Stranger Things kind of vibe going on about it. That's the first thing that smacked me. And the other thing, and I'm sorry to go back to it, but you could do this in VR. They could put this into VR pretty much straight away. Because it's just you sat in front of these, like a CB radio, and one of them looks like a safe, and then there's the computer where you got to...
The one that you think's a safe, it's like a lab. You do spin around a little bit, and you have there's a thing inside the oven. I'll use air quotation marks, the oven. And you... you perform tests on it.
Oh my god, that's what the drill's for. Oh, yeah. That suddenly took a very odd turn.
Oh man, that one fucked me right up. So, not gonna lie.
Oh my word. So when we do L's Gaming Steam Library Week...
I want this one.
No, Bagsy.
Yeah, no, Bagsy. I turned around and... Oh,
I will choose good ones for everyone.
I both turned around and touched the ground there. You couldn't see it because this is an audio-only podcast. But since I am currently wearing wireless headphones, I was afforded the ability to do the turn around and the touch the ground. So Bagsy me.
It's very.
I want to play this.
If you have the gumption to sit down and play this in the dark, in the middle of the night, and just experience something that is very, very Stranger Things, very 80s psychological horror, go for it.
Bagsy Rich does it.
Also gumption. This is... You got all the fucking best words tonight, Al. This is absolutely... Cyclical gumption. That is the podcast name right there. Al, you're outdoing yourself again. somehow you've managed to find games this week
because
that
you
aren't
challenged me.
making me scared of you, and I kind of want to play.
Yeah, I
That's
really
Like,
want to play
normally
this.
when I say
Three.
that I want to play the games that you mention, it's because I'm a little bit fearful of what you might do if I didn't. And this time, I genuinely kind of want to play them.
You got it.
This
all
is
back.
going very well so far.
The third one's
Okay.
not going to be a winner. I'm just.
Oh,
Okay.
let's put that out there now.
I feel like you've just let it go. You've just dropped our expectations too far. Okay, look. We need to go to Auntie L now.
Hi.
Before we do that, we're going to take a really quick break because we've been talking about loads of stuff for ages. So we're going to have a break. Ross, what kind of music do you want to insert here? Pick a style. Can everybody kind of agree on a style of music that Ross can put in here?
Not jazz.
Not jazz.
I can
God, I
agree
hate
with that,
jazz.
not jazz.
God,
I did
jazz is
enjoy
the
how,
worst.
Catchy the Nintendo Wii menu music was on one of our episodes. I might put that back in.
Oh yeah, no, I do kind of like the Nintendo Wii menu music.
My favourite.
That's okay.
Menu music or our startup music is the PlayStation 1.
There you go.
I'd also
man,
like
that
at
is
some
good
point
one.
for you to put in the theme music for Papers, Please.
Oh yeah, okay. There we go.
Yeah,
Agreed.
because it's got that really definitively bassy communist shit going
Yeah.
down that I quite like. So, do you know what? Dealer's choice. You pick,
Alright.
and we'll be back in a few minutes. Right, we're back. We're all suitably juiced and have microwaved our cats, and we are ready. We are ready to talk about something. What on earth was that? That's not a thing. We're going to talk. Lee is going to tell us something that he's been doing in the last couple of weeks since we podcasted last.
Okay, Payday 2 VR.
Right.
What?
I've done this.
This is
What?
great. Payday 2 is obviously quite an old game, and Starbreeze Studios are the creators of it, and they decided to retrofit it with VR.
Ooh.
Stuck some VR into it, and it's amazing. We played the
On the surface of it, sorry to cut in, but it's on the surface of it, that sounds like a bad idea. And on the surface of it, it is kind of a bad idea to try and retrofit VR onto an existing game. But in this instance,
this seems
bloody hell.
Well, no, there seems to be a current trend on this sort of thing. Pete, do you know what? One of the really good ones that you haven't played yet, or I doubt you will, is Doom 3. I want to say, I think it is.
The scary one.
Yeah.
Somebody retrofitted that. Not the original creators of it, but that as a mod, they did that, and it was amazing. A lot of people really liked that, and I think it was off of the back of that quite a few other games are starting to get the treatment, and this was one of them.
Payday 2 gives me motion sickness without VR.
Do you know
Okay,
what?
so there's a couple of reasons for that, actually.
It does me too. I've played it on
Yeah.
the Pancake version, and it does. There's a few first-person shooter games that do that to me.
Yeah.
And one of them is a bit like Dead Island. It takes over your head movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And wiggles you
Yeah,
around.
you've got a head bob.
Yeah, you don't get that in VR.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No,
Yeah.
because it only does what your
you're
head is actually doing.
Yeah. You move your head.
Okay.
Yeah, so now the beta's finished, and during the beta we were able to play the VR version of the game with each other as VR players. Now we can play with the Pancake people.
How'd you get on? Because
Yeah,
Rich
so
and
derisive.
Lewis famously did so well at Payday 1.
Oh, that is still one of my favourite videos of all time that we have done. And if you haven't seen this, go to the ReadyPlayer2 YouTube channel,
yeah.
which I can't even remember what the fucking...
Ready
what
Player
the
2
link to that is.
TV, I think.
Is that what it is? Right. So we did ages ago. We did Three Idiots Rob a Bank or something similar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my good grief! It was so good. It was so funny, and that was in Payday 1.
Yeah.
This is Payday 2, but Payday 2 has been out for so long now that there is a ridiculous amount of DLC for it, and there really is a lot of DLC, and they've actually got some pretty big Hollywood actors to do all of the voice acting and all the other stuff for the DLC, like the gauge packs and all the rest of it.
Nice.
So we bought the Payday 2 Ultimate Edition. Yeah, and that comes with something like 23 DLC packs built into it. There is tons. There is so much content.
Actually.
And that's one of the biggest problems with it. If you've never played Payday 2 before... if you've never played Payday 2 before and you're playing it in the Pancake version, it is fairly confusing. If you're playing it in VR, the UI for it, the user interface that they put together is workable, but it's so complex. There's so much stuff going on that it's taken me quite a few play sessions to get the hang of what's going on. On top of that, originally, when they were in the beta, they only had a certain number of the missions, of the heists, were available for VR players. So you could only play, I think it was 10 or so of the heists you could play in VR. So they've now officially released it. It's a properly released thing. It's out of beta. You can download it. Anybody who has got a VR headset and owns Payday 2 can download the VR version for free and go ahead and play the game that they already like in VR.
Cool.
And it's unlocked every single mission, as far as I'm aware.
There's only a few things that aren't in this version for us now, and there's just a few. Because
originally you couldn't use sniper rifles or anything.
Yeah.
And now you can. They're all unlocked.
Rifles with really, really good magnified scopes. They work really well, which a few games struggle with.
And I don't know what Lee's opinion of it, because you've played more of the AAA, because you've played Fallout 4 VR and Doom VFR, and I haven't played those things. So my expectations of AAA titles, and I would class this as a AAA title, in VR is limited. But there are a couple of exceptions to the rule here, because while this is absolutely fantastic, and it really is, if you've got a VR headset and you want to play a game that's got a serious amount of pedigree behind it and enjoy it, this is definitely a contender for best VR game I've ever played. But there are a couple of caveats to that. One of them is we played a level called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was one of the Goat Simulator add-on levels. Oh my god, it was so fucked up. The game is still kind of buggy. Well, not because of the goat. I mean, the goats were reasonable. Yeah. I mean, but there was
the goats.
The goats were manageable. But the game has got a couple of like really weird bugs, and some of the levels were designed for people who are playing on a keyboard and mouse. And in this particular example, you have to go into the back of like a lorry. Now, to start with, you go into the back of this lorry and you have to crouch. Because if you don't crouch, the way that the game handles your head going outside of a playable zone is it blanks you out.
So
if you try and push your face,
he doesn't mean press the C button.
I fucking swear to God, we were playing this game. And he's fucking stood there, and he's looking at me, and he's going, "How you doing that?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Crouching. How you doing that?" And I mean, we're both in VR.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "I don't follow. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "No, you're crouching. What button did you push to do that?" I'm just like, "Mate, I'm on my knees." I'm literally on my knees right now. That's how you crouch.
It's good head.
So you have to get down on your knees to crouch in the game, which makes sense, obviously. Only the way that the game handles your head going outside of the boundary of play. So if you try to cheat by, let's say, looking through a wall to see where enemies are on the opposite side of the wall, the way that the game handles that is it blanks off your headset. So your whole headset goes black, right? Now, there's a couple of issues with that. The first one is that's really fucking dangerous. That's a very dangerous thing to do. The second one is that as well as it blanking out your headset, it also then, if it's decided that you've gone too far outside of the bounds, it shifts your player character in the game back into bounds. Now, that seems okay on the surface of things, but when you've only got a limited play space in the area that you're working on, and then your head suddenly comes back into bounds somewhere that you weren't expecting to, and you're right in front of an object or a person or a cop or something like that, and you try to back away, you collide with something in your house. And it is pretty fucking dangerous. But this particular level, you have to kneel into this like lorry and then kind of somehow get into this car that's parked into the back of this fucking lorry, and then you get into the car and try and drive the car out of the back of the lorry. Italian Job, this was not.
Who's that really bad driver on that driving show?
It's not me. The Stig?
No.
Richard
Stick's not
Hammond.
a
was
bad
it?
driver.
It's somebody else.
Hammond does crash a lot.
Yeah,
so-
okay, let's call you Hammond then.
Okay. Whoa, why me? Okay, yeah, it's understandable. So, essentially, what we ended up doing was I was in the driver's seat and Lee was in the passenger seat, and the drive mechanics in this car. So, bear in mind that I'm stood up. I am stood up in my living room. Now, in the game, I am sat in a car. So, immediately, my head is going, fuck you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? Something wrong. Something wrong. So you then have to hold the steering wheel with your left hand while doing this weird thing with an accelerator with your right hand. So essentially, I'm tossing Lee off while he's sat in the passenger seat. Now he's so disturbed by this. He's so disturbed by this that he's then tried to lean out of the window, and I'm not joking. This is genuinely what he's done.
My skin
He's
was
leant
trying to
out
crawl
of the
off my
window.
body.
Oh my god.
Right? He's leant out the window while I'm tossing off this fucking accelerator in the middle of the car. And he's shooting cops. Now, as we drive out the back of this lorry, two things happen. Firstly, I lost my hands. And I don't say that in like a weird euphemism, kind of, I was tossing off Lee and shit's gone wrong kind of way, because that's kind of what happened. But I lost, my hands have disappeared at this point. So I'm full lock to the right, and my hand is fully on the accelerator. Yeah, my hands have now gone. Lee's leaning out of the window. His hands have also gone. So we're fucking bollocking it along at full acceleration, doing a donut to the right, and neither of us have got any control over what's happening. Now the problem with that is when you're in a VR headset and you lose control and shit's still going on, it is so disorienting.
At this point, I had my eyes closed and was just praying.
He had to, he closed his eyes. So literally, I'm there going, what's going on? What's going on? And he's going, I don't know, my eyes are closed. This isn't helpful. So he's dangling out the right-hand side of the window of this car while we're doing donuts with cops surrounding us. I've lost my hands. I have no idea what's happening. He's flapping around in the wind with his mouth open and his tongue lolling to one side. It wasn't our finest moment, I've got to be perfectly honest.
The beauty of VR.
I was channeling Ace Ventura.
Oh my god. So it was like fucking, I don't even know. There are a couple of bugs within the game that are...
level in particular was...
Yeah, there are some at some moments insurmountable, and so it's
broken. We're not going to play that one again.
it was so broken that we had to stop playing, and not only did we have to stop playing, that it made me so ill.
The goats were really good.
The goats were excellent. I mean, top scores for the goats. And just to placate L here, this was a level in which a guy had been flying a helicopter full of contraband goats. Yeah. And the helicopter had been... I'm not joking. I wish I was making this up. And the helicopter had either been shot down or he'd crashed because he was drunk. And essentially, there was an entire city block that was littered with goats. Oh, so there were goats at the top of lampposts, there were goats halfway up buildings, there were goats everywhere. And so we had to do Payday-style drilling and cutting to cut down lampposts and deliver these goats. But we're literally carrying... I mean, bear in mind, we're in VR. So I've literally got a goat in one hand and a gun in the other. And we're running through the streets of this city, carrying goats under our arms, shooting cops. It's one of the most bizarre things I've ever done.
Featured image for this podcast.
I'll pose for that.
Don't let the odd level put you off, because there are bugs. I mean, there's bugs in almost every... I mean, we have a weird problem at the minute where my headset goes black every time we try to play a game in VR, so I have to reboot my computer, and apparently Nvidia have discovered that problem now, and they're trying to fix it internally, but there are problems with the game, but it is still exceptionally good. It is so different. So earlier on today, my controllers for my Vive were out of battery. We went to play it and I'd run out of battery. So I decided to play it Pancake. I was playing on my PC normally with a mouse and keyboard, and Lee was in VR. And when you can do that and it works, and it's great and it's fantastic. But the game is not the same game. It's like a completely different game when you're playing it on with mouse and keyboard versus playing it in VR. It is so brilliant. It is really, really good.
I know this game, when it came out, it was... A lot of people quite liked it. It was quite a well-regarded game that earned Starbreeze quite a lot of money. I was never really that interested in it. And when it came out on VR, I was like, okay, I've got to give it a go just because it's VR. I love it. So good.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's so good. The progression in it is fantastic.
On my own, I think
It's the charm of it is the multiplayer, and the fact that you can play with other people that don't have VR headsets. If you've got friends that enjoy playing the game, they can just play it regular on a PC, and they don't need the VR headset.
Yeah.
So good. It is so good.
A couple of things I wanted to inject into this. One is stealth really hurts.
Yeah. If you're really old, like Lee is.
I've got fucked up knees. I've played a lot of tennis over the years, and my knees are...
Yeah, given a lot of
And I'm
blowjobs.
also old.
You can read
I've
into
got
this.
Payday 2 on Steam. Sorry.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Please, can your review for Payday 2 please just be I lost my hands with no context?
Yeah, but the goats were great. 10 out of 10 would goat again.
Oh man.
So the first stealth level we did was this yacht level where you have to pretty much...
Oh my God.
Stealth is the only option. Usually it's just an option, but you can only stealth on this one. So we spent, how many hours? A couple of hours maybe playing this?
Yep.
Crouched.
Yep.
On our knees.
And by
all
crouched,
Oh,
yeah, by crouched, we weren't like comfortably squatted.
no.
I mean, your
Yeah,
glutes
we
must
were
be
both.
so developed though, right?
Yeah.
I've got fucking no.
I've got 2 asses now.
I've got bunions on my kneecaps, and I didn't think that was ever a thing. It is, yeah. I've got hardwood floor in the room that I used to play this game, and Lee is in his garage with a concrete floor,
got
so I'm pretty